I'm Paul Comfort, and this is Transit Unplugged, North America's top public transportation podcast, where every week we talk to a different CEO or transit executive and find out what's happening behind the scenes of their transit agency or company. Today's episode centers on a North American city known for sitting right on a major waterway. You may have heard of it. It's spelled Mississauga. Yeah, that's right, not IPPI. We're not talking Mississippi, we're talking Mississauga, Ontario in Canada, just west of Toronto. Mississauga is a great city. It's actually, though relatively new by North American standards, it's only about 50 years old, but in that time, it's grown into the 7th largest city in Canada. And when a city population grows like that, you have to move them, right? That's why MiWay, Mississauga's transit system, has continued to grow right along with the city. And our guest today is Maureen Cosyn Heath. She leads MiWay, Mississauga's transit system, and she's taking on the challenge of guiding a 500 bus system, supporting over 1,700 employees, and doing all the things necessary to keep that city moving smoothly and reliably. MiWay is expanding service, preparing for new rapid transit projects, and making major investments to meet demand. Now let's jump into this conversation that I recorded live in person with her in Ontario just before we went on stage for a Transit Unplugged live CEO event. And if you like what you hear today, be sure to like and subscribe Transit Unplugged wherever you listen to podcasts so you can be sure that you get the information you need to grow your career and be a fascinating transit evangelist. Now let's talk to Maureen. Excited to be in Canada today with two great CEOs. We're going to start with Maureen Cosyn Heath. She's the Director of Transit for the City of Mississauga, which is outside of Toronto, and their transit system is called MiWay. Maureen, thanks for being with us.
My pleasure. This is my first podcast. I hope I do you justice.
Awesome. Yeah, I'm sure you will. First off, some context. We're here at the Vontis Canada User Summit, the first one ever, and you're co-hosting it. Tell me what's that all about?
We're really excited to be a co-host. When Vontis contacted us and they were looking for a Canadian location to have their first ever user conference, we stepped up and volunteered. Selfishly, it's a great way for me to be able to send a lot of staff without incurring a lot of travel budget. And also, working in the greater Toronto Golden Horseshoe area, there's a good concentration, a healthy concentration of transit agencies within this geographical span. So we knew that that would likely give them a good draw for potential customers to come and spend some time learning about the product and seeing the new modules and just the evolution of what Vontis is able to offer us as an agency. So that's how we ended up here today.
You know, I drove up yesterday. I'm in Maryland, and I flew up to Buffalo and drove over, which was fun. I wanted to see a buddy of mine that runs buses in Buffalo, and they had football game day service, which was fun. You know, I got to go out and meet their drivers and their supervisors. They had like 14 buses there at Buffalo Bills Stadium. Michael Dillon Powell, good dude. Anyway, I loved coming over that bridge and going to see Niagara Falls from the Canadian side. You know, I've driven by that, but I've never actually walked up to it. So I took like an hour and just took it all in. I think it looks better from the Canadian side. You can actually see the Horseshoe Falls.
Honestly, Canada has the better view of the falls, not going to lie, and we'll take that moment to brag as a nation. Glad you had a chance to experience it. Niagara is truly a beautiful area, not just because of the falls, but the Niagara region has wineries and farm-to-table restaurants and all kinds of craft breweries. It's quite a tourist destination, and in my opinion, one of the prettiest parts of the province of Ontario.
Yeah, driving up one of the streets, I felt like I was in Disneyland. All these, it was wild there. What is that, canal? What is that street there? Do you know what I'm talking about?
It's in Niagara Falls, Clifton Hill.
That's it, Clifton Hills, yeah. If you go there, people who are listening, you should definitely check that out. Anyway, let's set the context for Ontario. So Canada has, 11 provinces?
Yes.
And so provinces are like states in America, so to speak, right?
Yes.
So you got a pretty big one here, and the big area is Toronto, and you're just like outside of Toronto, right, Mississauga?
Yep, Mississauga is about 30 minutes by GO train from the downtown core of Toronto.
And tell me about Mississauga. How many people? It's a city, right? It's a standalone city?
It's a standalone city. The City of Mississauga has about 775,000 residents at this point in time.
That's as big as Baltimore City, by the way.
Yeah,
it's a big city.
It's not a small city, that's for sure. And we are connected to Toronto by way of Etobicoke, Brampton, Toronto, down to Oakville and Milton, some of the sort of bedroom communities. So there's quite a congregation of communities around the city of Toronto. It has done a significant amount of development. When you look at Mississauga, one of the things you'll notice about our skyline is the number of high residential density towers that we have in our core. So really easy to deliver great transit service because we've got so many residential units concentrated in an area around our shopping district, and soon to come, you know, a new convention center and changes to the living arts area. Like there's downtown Mississauga right now is really undergoing a significant transformation. And we're also excited that we will have the future Hazel McCallion line, which will be an LRT line. It's coming in the near future. Not going to give a date quite yet because we're not quite ready, but certainly the City of Mississauga is working away to be ready for LRT operations.
And who's bringing that in?
So Metrolinx, which is the provincial agency, they are the asset owner, and MiWay will be the benefactor of the build of that piece of construction.
There's a new CEO there, right? The guy had been there for a long time, recently left at Metrolinx.
Yes, Phil Verster left, and
Phil.
there is a new CEO at Metrolinx.
Okay, and there's a new guy at TTC too, right?
There is.
Mandeep?
Yes.
Yeah.
New CEO at TTC.
He used to be in New York. I knew him when he was in New York a little bit.
Okay.
Yeah, so I'm going to try to go over there in the new year and interview him. So you all are kind of connected. Do you like connect up with Toronto? Do your buses like meet up or whatever?
Yes, there is service integration in between some TTC and Brampton Transit and MiWay routes.
Okay.
We have a little bit of a service area where we sort of share stops in different areas to help regional connectivity. Obviously, when you look at the geography from Niagara, from the border that you crossed, all the way up to sort of north on the 400, Vaughan, etc., there's about 17 transit agencies in what we call the GTHA area. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, so there's regional connectivity in this area is really, really important to us, and it's a critical part of the customer experience.
Speaking of customer experience, do you have like shared fare media, or do you just tap into the credit cards, or what do you do?
Yeah, we use a system in Ontario called Presto. That's
right,
what the GTHA properties use. Presto is a Metrolinx product, and we have our end users they tap on.
Yeah.
We also recently introduced open payments so people can use their bank cards and their credit cards.
I love that.
So you know what? Users do too, let me tell you.
Yeah.
We've seen a huge migration away from cash. Cash was already dwindling in interest on our buses over time.
Yeah.
But as soon as open payment came out, it's really been a game changer.
Yeah. I remember back when I was CEO of MTA, I went to London for something, speak at a conference or something, and there's a guy named Shashi Verma, who was the Chief Technology Officer at Transport for London, and they had only had it for 6 months.
Yep.
He like invented it. They were the first ones in the world to do this tap and go. I think they called it contactless payment at the time.
Yep.
Which is still kind of a nomenclature for it.
Yep.
But he said, Paul, 6 months, 40% of the people riding the tube have already gone to it.
Yeah.
And we went down, my daughter was with me, and we went down and watched. He said, watch. And they were just, it was brand new then, taking their wallet out or just tap. And now it's phone, right? Now you can do it with your phone.
Yeah, and those things are really convenient, but I know we share a connection to some U.S. transit systems. I'm a huge fan of New York City and the MTA, and you will pry my Metro card out of my cold dead hands. But that's just nostalgia.
That's
nostalgia.
All right, so now we've set the stage. So now serve us the platter. Tell us about your agency, the buses. I mean, you guys are a pretty big agency. It's pretty cool.
We are. We are the third largest municipal transit agency in the province of Ontario. We are sitting at 500 buses. We operate out of 2 facilities. We are online to stand up a 3rd facility. That's in kind of the early design work phase for us. Our fleet is mostly hybrid diesel. We've got a hydrogen bus pilot project coming
I
our
love
way.
hydrogen. Yeah.
In about 2 years' time. We're standing on the precipice of ordering those buses. And then we are also doing a battery electric project in similar time frame, 10 buses there. So we're moving towards zero emissions busing. So that's the fleet. There's 1,700 plus people that work at MiWay. About 1,100 of them are drivers, about 400 in the maintenance staff, and then admin teams like your on-road controllers, route supervisors, operations supervisor, and admin staff that work on all the IT and the planning and scheduling, the usual stuff. But it's a large system, certainly the largest agency that I've ever worked at, and it's a great system. I've been there just 4 months at this point and settling in really nicely. Everybody's been very welcoming to me, and we've got great things ahead, really exciting projects coming down the road.
That's good. Well, let's talk about some of them. First, I just want to acknowledge, I knew the lady who had your job before you, Eve.
Yes.
Yes, yeah. She was great. She went to the airport now, right?
She did.
Yeah. Tell me about what you're doing. You say you got some, so right now you're diesel hybrid.
Yep.
Like your whole fleet is?
Yes.
Wow. So what does that mean? Like it's partly electric, partly diesel, like the standard hybrid bus?
Yeah, it's a standard diesel hybrid bus.
Okay.
And, they're working really great. We were able to adopt onto that technology fairly early.
I love that.
And the more we bring into the fleet, we're not at 100% conversion yet, but we're well on our way. So we're seeing a reduction in our diesel spend. We haven't seen any challenges at all in functionality of the buses compared to the old battle axe diesel buses of yore.
Yeah.
And, the team has become very proficient working on them. And we know as we move into hydrogen buses and electrification, a lot of change in the work done by our technicians. A lot of the early work is really prepping the workforce to be ready for a new engine and a new way to maintain vehicles.
That's interesting. I have a bunch of topics I want to ask you. First, let's talk about ridership. So let me just set the stage for where I'm at on ridership personally.
Sure.
And so I talk to CEOs every week around the world. And in America, the new administration, there's a new FTA administrator, Mark Molinaro, who oversees Transit America. We're kind of shifting, I think, the importance of ridership. And I don't even want to say post-pandemic anymore. I'm tired of talking about the pandemic, but you know what I'm talking about.
Yep.
So pandemic was a gut punch to all of us. We all dropped 50% of our ridership. A lot of agencies haven't even gotten back to that. So the question is, do we even want to use that as a standard anymore? Because the way we work is different. Our software company, our offices are in Mississauga, right? For one of our software. Nobody goes in anymore.
Yeah.
So how can you compare when the whole context has changed? So what's your thoughts on that?
I think most of us in the industry know that sort of that binary count of ridership is a throwback to a day and age of yore, and that we need to modernize the way we think about success of a transit agency.
I agree.
So instead of just kind of points on your tap card or coins in a fare box, we need to start shifting away and start looking at boardings and link trips and what our passengers are really doing when they're on our system. So many of us have gone to fare capping, loyalty-based programs, or 2-hour transfer windows. We're really not counting ridership the way they would have back 3 decades ago anyways.
That's right.
We've given away a lot of what would have been counted as a rider. So we are actually diminishing our own success factor. So I think when you look at that and you start shifting to what does a modern transit system need to do and need to be measured on, it really is the construct of what's the value you're providing to your community.
Boom, I agree.
Yeah.
100%. Yeah, we've done some surveys in America about 85% of people don't ride transit generally, but they support transit.
Right.
And the reason they support it is because of 3 reasons. We've done the surveys. They are, number 1, access to jobs. They support it because they know it's providing access. Number 2, it helps the elderly and people with disabilities. They know that. These people might be homebound if they couldn't get access to the services. And third, for lower income people who maybe can't afford their own transportation. So they get it and they're willing to subsidize it. Right. So why not emphasize those as KPIs that are important, right?
Yeah, I think those are definitely KPIs. I know in the systems what I've seen is a real shift to measuring access to transit. How many people live within 400 meters to to a bus stop?
Right.
How many people are within 800 meters to rapid transit or express routes?
Yeah.
How many people are within 1 kilometer to jobs, within 1 kilometer to a park or a community center? Like, where are things in proxemics to where your people live? And that is certainly something, over the lifespan of my career, when I first started in transit in the late 1990s, I never heard those words. Nobody cared.
Yeah.
That's just not how we measured.
That's
it
right.
was coins in the fare box only.
Yeah.
Whereas now,
Yeah.
most of our modern planners and our modern system designers are looking at it from a completely different set of metrics. And I would argue the right metrics. Like, I think we're finally getting it right when we're looking at where can we get you, how quickly can we get you there, and what do you have access to. Travel time wise, I can't compete with the car. That's just a fact. But that's okay. I can get you there in a reasonable amount of time. And my pitch to the non-riders is pretty simple. You're a car owner, more people on my buses, more space on the road for you.
I love it.
Yep.
That's great, Maureen. That's
Yep.
really good. So how are you structured there? You're part of the city government?
Yep, so we're part of the municipal government at Mississauga. And so you've got your city manager, and they report to municipal council, our elected officials. And then there's a commissioner of transportation and works. So, roads, engineering, infrastructure, LRT project, the rapid transit project office, and then the transit. We all fall under that commissioner. And then I'm the transit director.
Okay. And so you've got 500 buses, and what else? Tell me again what you have for your actual services that you operate.
500 buses, 70 routes. Some of them are express, some of them are local, core routes, and then we have some
on-demand stuff like paratransit, what we call in America,
paratransit is delivered by the region in Mississauga's area.
Okay.
So Peel region, which is Brampton and Mississauga, it's delivered by the region. So no para in Mississauga.
But you do have it. It's just provided by
It's
somebody
provided
else.
by someone else,
Okay.
correct.
Yeah, yeah.
And then looking, as we build out our system, looking at on demand for areas where, maybe a 40-footer just isn't the best business case, right?
All right, so we talked about ridership and how we ought to be shifting how we look at that. It's not now the main or the only KPI that matters.
Yep.
Does your upline agree with you? Like the city council and all like that, are they buying into this philosophy of we need to shift the way we present our success?
Yeah, it's always a journey with elected officials.
Yeah.
And I think that it is on us as the transit agency
agree
to
with
really
you.
help
Yes.
shape that narrative.
Yeah.
We go in every year at budget time and we ask for a lot of money. We go in every year, we're asking for big money capital. We're looking to buy $55 million worth of replacement buses next year.
Wow.
So you're talking big bucks from the cap side, big bucks from the operating side. There's 1,700 FTE. I'm sitting at about 19% of the overall number of employees for the City of Mississauga. So my budget numbers, they jump off the page when you're looking at all things being equal. So your municipal council and your senior leadership team really need to understand what you're doing and where you're at and where you're trying to go and why. Because if they don't understand the how and the why, they are going to have a really difficult time supporting your business cases and your budget requests, because again, we're competing for budget dollars with fire, with emergency services, with parks and recs, with all of the big city departments.
Yeah.
So if you want your piece of the pie and you want to be able to deliver a top-notch service to your residents, your elected officials and the senior leaders have to understand where you're started, where you're going, and why it's important to get there.
That's good. That's why I believe one of the key skill sets for a CEO these days is the ability to communicate effectively.
Yep.
It's like, I think it's the most important, because you're kind of like a politician. You got to win the votes, you got to sell your vision of what you want to do, and you got to win the votes, and you got to have people on your side. And
Yeah, I agree with that. I think certainly I've been blessed to have strong finance people around me who can do the technical math. I've got an excellent ops manager and fleet manager who can get the buses on the road, service the roads, whatever. I've always said my job is to stand on the council floor and convince people to give us large sums of money in order to better the product that we're delivering to our community.
Thanks for listening to the Transit Unplugged podcast. We are so glad you're here. If you're enjoying this show, we know you'll love our other transit industry programs. On Transit Unplugged TV, Paul Comfort explores the food, culture, and transit systems around the globe. You get to see everything. You'll love this show. And every week, we also offer up the Transit Unplugged News Minute, where you can get the latest industry headlines in less than 60 seconds. You can find out more at transitunplugged.com. Now back to Paul Comfort for this edition of the award-winning Transit Unplugged podcast.
Speaking of money, let's talk about the fare box. You've mentioned it a couple times. That's the way. So people in the industry know a fare box recovery ratio is a percentage of money you collect from the fare box as it relates to your operating costs usually. In America, I hate to keep comparing that, but that's where I'm from. I remember when I got the job at MTA 10 years ago in Baltimore, there was a law on the books in our state that said we had to have a 50% fare box recovery ratio.
Wow.
50. And we were breaking the law every day when I took the job. So that soon got changed by the state legislature to 25%. And then we still weren't hitting that on bus service. We were hitting it on commuter trains. We ran commuter trains. Then they dropped it completely. And I think it's down to 15% now as a fare box recovery ratio. What's your story up here on that?
I would love to only have to hit 15%. I could do that honestly without getting out of bed. Wow.
What is it?
In Canada, particularly I'll say in Ontario, the sort of tried and true is 50% fare box recovery.
50%?
50% is the goal. There are transit agencies that exceed that, and there are others that don't. I would say, post-pandemic, I know you don't want to talk about it anymore, but we're still, in Mississauga, we're still a little lower than the 50%, but we're certainly over the 45. So we kind of sit in that pocket.
That's amazing.
Yeah, we sit in that
Maureen,
pocket, and I don't think that that's a bad space
and what's
to be
it cost to ride your bus?
$4.50 is the cash fare. But
like
then,
one way?
Yes.
You get on, you pay $4.50, or you tap your card.
Tap your card.
Most likely, yeah.
But then you get a transfer, and you get 2-hour transfers, so you can do whatever you can do on board in a 2-hour window.
Yeah.
We offer monthly passes. We offer discounts for students, low income. Seniors ride our buses for free. So there's a suite.
Seniors ride free.
They do.
That's pretty awesome.
Yeah, 65 and up ride for free. So there's a suite of fare options that are offered. And we try to make sure that there's a fare product offering that benefits every single demographic on board our buses.
So what do you think the goal ought to be? Is it like a law, or the 50% thing, or just a standard?
It's not a law.
Okay,
it's just sort of it's a standard. It's not a super official standard, but it's usually the benchmark that most of us will hold ourselves to.
Yeah.
I think 50%, like I said, there's some agencies that meet it with ease and exceed it. And that's great for them. I think it, again, depends on what your base price of your fares are. It's hard to compare. And when you're looking at a place like the TTC, which is arguably significantly larger than us.
Are they the largest in Canada? Yeah.
I would say certainly in Ontario.
Them and TransLink are probably the two big ones.
Yeah, certainly TTC is the largest in Ontario, and you could stack me and a few of my neighbors up and we still wouldn't come close. So we sort of hold them almost in their own bucket. They're not a direct comparator to any of us. So.
That's good, interesting. So you think it's about right?
I think that it is good. When you think of the cost of delivering our service, I think it's a fair trade-off for the level of service we provide the community.
Interesting. You mentioned you're moving into zero-emission buses. You're starting the hydrogen, and you're maybe getting some electric, and you've had hybrid. Have you had any adoption challenges? I remember a couple years ago, you all had a very bad winter all across Canada. And I remember I went to Edmonton. I went all across the country and talked to CEOs, and they're all like, dude, Paul, battery buses aren't cutting it for us. It's too cold up here. We're getting 100 miles or whatever kilometers up here out of a full charge, and it's just not working for us. We got to look at other things, CNG, hydrogen, whatever. Alberta's big. So what are you guys doing there? How's your adoption going?
So we don't have them in service yet, so it's kind of hard to say what it will be like. But what I can say is the OEMs that service the Canadian market have heard and learned from the early experiences with some of the different transit properties across the country. And they know that the weather is an issue for us, and they know that the climate is up and down. Amount of snowfall can vary widely from one year to another. But at the end of the day, I know the manufacturers have been working really, really hard to make a battery with longer range and that is more protected against some of the wild climate changes.
Yeah.
I think that's why you'll always see a bit of a balance in a fleet. I don't know that you'll ever see a large agency go all in one fuel type only.
Yeah.
I think you kind of have to have a mix to kind of protect yourself and cover your bases and play the odds a little bit.
So you've been here 4 or 5 months. What's your game plan? Like, what are you hoping to accomplish? Do you have like a vision of what you want to do over the next few years, or let's look to the future?
Yeah, so I've been around here for 4 months. I've been in the transit industry for 25 years, but I've been at MiWay for 4 months. And so I've really spent the time getting to know the staff, getting to know the city, getting to figure out what the city's vision is for transit in the future. And what I know is with the city building projects like the LRT, like a downtown mobility hub, like improvements to our existing conventional bus network, we are uniquely poised to continue to deliver a better regionally connected system. And I look even at the basics, like let's get the on-time service delivery up to standards. It's great to have the lofty plans, but you got to make sure that your base service on the road is a good quality product. So we're going to spend some time looking down the road at the future, but we're also going to spend some time focusing on the frontline operations and making sure we've got everything's in ship shape before we try to bite off fancy big new projects.
Right. When you look at sports, that's what they do, right?
Yep.
Coach comes in and says, all right, back to the basics, fundamentals, then we can work on the fancy stuff.
Build the team. Yeah,
that's
for
great.
sure.
So you said you've been in transit for 25 years. Tell me about your background.
So I started my career in public transit at the London Transit Commission in 1999 as the customer service manager. I needed a job and they were hiring. I had no idea when I walked through the doors of that building on that July day in 1999 that I found my life's work.
Oh, wow.
No clue.
Yeah.
Went in, worked with the team there, really enjoyed it, moved over to operations after about 1.5 years. Someone retired and they said, well, we think you could do this. And that was a unique choice. I was a very young woman at the time. I was in my early 30s. I had never driven a bus. I really had no labor background to speak of, just the 1.5 years I'd had. So they took a chance on me, and I spent the next 9 years working as the ops manager there, learned the business, learned how to work with the union, negotiate contracts, accident collision investigation, all of the good operational stuff. Learned it from the ground up, had some great colleagues who were very generous with their expertise. Stepped out of public transit for 13 years to become the CAO of a school busing consortium in southwestern Ontario. So it was the City of London, Elgin County, Middlesex County, Oxford County. Ran about 1,100 routes every day. That was 60,000 transported students. It was special needs students and regular yellow bus service with contractors. So really learned there governance, built an organization from the ground up, worked with the Ministry of Education and the local elected officials, but I always knew I would go back to transit. It was just a matter for me of when or where. And I became fortunate when the directorship opened up at the Hamilton Street Railway at HSR. So I took that position on, spent 4 years there, loved it, great team in Hamilton. But when the chance came to take the third largest agency in the province, that I could not turn down, and that's how I've landed in Mississauga. So that's my background and career.
Awesome. And sitting right across from you is your successor, right?
You got it.
Yeah.
She sure is.
So we're going to interview her next for the next podcast.
Yep.
This has been great. Anything else you want to talk about before we wrap it up? Any other thoughts or contemplations after 25 years in the industry and 4 months in your new gig?
I really think that public transit makes a huge difference in the communities that we serve, and I have seen firsthand that impact at every level. And I think that's the beautiful thing about what we do all day for a living, is really be able to be a community builder in the first instance. And that said, I still love watching the bus yard come to life in the early hours of the morning. I love hanging out in the driver's room and playing dominoes or shooting the breeze with frontline staff. And that's a part of me as a leader that I never want to lose, is the connection to the people that turn the wrenches, the people that turn the wheel, because they are they're the alpha and omega of our systems, full stop. Yeah. I can't do what I do without them doing what they do. So
That's great. I forgot to ask you about like personal stuff. Like, So let's do that before we wrap up. Tell me anything you want to tell me about your personal life, your hobbies, your pets, all that kind of stuff. Whatever you want to tell me.
I will say I am the proud mother of 2 adult children. We have a 23-year-old daughter who's doing a master's degree and a 20-year-old son who's in his 3rd year of a business administration program. And he's studying supply chain and logistics, which he confidently told me when he was 18 had nothing to do with transit. And then he has confidently told me at 20 he was wrong and mom was in fact correct.
Okay.
So
there you go.
that was kind of a cool shape shift. And I think I would like to say that my cash fare is $4.25.
Okay. All right.
$4.50 is next year's budget figure.
We're making news today.
Yeah.
That's great.
Okay.
Any pets or anything?
Recently lost our 13-year-old golden retriever, Finnegan.
That's terrible.
He was a special boy. Not the world's brightest dog, but certainly the world's most loving dog.
Yeah.
And we have an 18-year-old cat.
18-year-old cat.
Yeah,
Wow.
and she loves my husband the most. Let's just leave. She's his cat. She loves him, and she tolerates me.
Okay. And last question, music. What kind of music do you listen to?
Oh man, I'm old enough to listen to almost anything on the radio.
Yeah.
I love all kinds of music. You can put 50s music on and I'll sing along quite confidently, all the way up to kind of modern pop. Not a huge jazz fan, but really country, classic country, 90s country is some good stuff.
What's the last concert you went to?
Taylor Swift.
What is it?
Taylor Swift.
Oh, you went to Taylor Swift.
Sure did.
I
I would pay any amount of money
Did
to
you
go
ride
see.
transit to it?
I did actually.
Did you?
Yeah, you betcha. We drove to Burlington and took the GO train into Toronto and went and saw the concert, and it was amazing.
That's great. Well, that's a great way to end it. Thank you so much for being with us
You're very
today.
welcome.
It's been great to get to know you, and I wish you all the success as you continue to move into this area of managing one of the biggest transit systems in Canada.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for listening to this episode of Transit Unplugged, the world's #1 transit executive podcast. I'm Julie Gates, executive producer of the podcast. Many thanks to the team that makes this show happen. Host and producer Paul Comfort, producer Chris O'Keefe, editor Patrick Emile, associate producer Cindy Raskin, and consultants Dan Meisner and Jonas Woost at Bumper. Transit Unplugged is being brought to you by Midaxo, passionate about moving the world's people. If you would enjoy behind-the-scenes insights and updates from the show, sign up for our weekly newsletter, which has links to can't-miss conversations with the biggest names in mobility. Head to transitunplugged.com and scroll to the bottom of the page to sign up. Thanks for listening, and we'll catch you on the next episode of Transit Unplugged.